Excuse me. Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry, I started to talk and I started to choke at the same time. How y'all doing? Welcome to Sunday morning gathering. Trail dust in first. Jack Pines, I tried to catch your live stream, but like I was in the middle of drilling a bunch of holes. I was at work. Um, Looked crisp, looked good. Uh, what's up? What's up? What's up? Michael Hayes, I'm excited for it too today. Uh, Transcendental Artist Studios, Mick Chu, Robert Lonis, um, Fisher Core, what makes channels chill. Thank you. Yeah, I took that shot myself. I recorded that myself. MTN Home Forge, Bortagov, uh, chat just jumped. Carnage Creations, Eric, Robert, how y'all doing? Good morning. Um, Michael Hayes says it's been a while since I caught this live, but I usually see it later. You do know that we also have a podcast version as well, which allows you to play it on the shop speakers or in the car or whatever to listen to it and whatnots. So I don't have the link on me, but I bet Sully does because um, Impractical Blacksmiths is the podcast on.
Yeah, let me. I don't have it handy, but I can work on that.
Yeah. Um, but anyway, good morning, everybody. How y'all doing? What's up, Omni Re Oni Ryokian? Ryokian. What's up, hubcaps? Um, yes, so I suppose a quick how was your week is in order. What's up? So who wants to go first?
I
Uh,
reckon Sally should start today.
Okay, fine. Uh,
none of us.
yeah, no. So, yeah. My week was kind of. Wait a minute, wrong stuff. There it is. My
Because
week was not
multitask.
all that. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I got like too many windows open at the same time here. My week was kind of crappy. I worked on Sunday last week, and that's it. I had Friday scheduled to be off because I had an appointment at home, and I didn't come home on Monday. The board was just chock full of rig moves, and I didn't get any of them. So I sat at the yard till Thursday. Thursday morning, I headed home and had my appointment on Friday, and Saturday came and went. And now it's Sunday, and it's like, well, if I don't get a dispatch soon, I'm gonna have to liquidate my crypto to go to Quad State.
Mm,
I'm getting a little bit nervous about not working now.
yeah.
And then I Thursday I came home, or I came home and I set up my PC and everything here on the kitchen table, and I was getting everything set up to live stream and all that, and for this, and I broke my soundboard. Well, first it wouldn't turn on, and I'm like, wait, what the hell's going on here? Yeah, it worked fine last Sunday. I don't know what the deal is, and I was moving cables around, trying to let me try, trying a different USB cord, trying a different USB port because it takes the little micro USB. And then I unplugged it from the soundboard because there's two of them side by side. One of them is 5-volt power, and the one right next to that is out to computer, which it doesn't matter. They're both USB and plug into the PC,
Hmm.
but it can be either one. I could switch it around. So I went to switch them around to see if maybe it was a problem like that, which it shouldn't have been because it's battery powered. I can literally unplug it and it'll run for 2 hours just on the battery, the internal battery. And that was dead. Because it wouldn't power up. So I was like, what the heck's going on? And then I went to plug it back in, and the plug that you plug into that's soldered to the PCI board broke off the PCI board, and I was like, oh no. So I took all the screws out, opened it up, and those electronic. Like that stuff is so small, I can't even see it to try to put it back together again. So I've got it sitting out in the shop, and if I find somebody that can do electronic repairs, I may send it to them and see if they can put it back together. But it's beyond my ability to fix. So for now, I'm back to just a little this setup with the mic that's on my headphones and or my phone if this is not good enough. So now
Incompatible.
incompatible. Yeah, now I have to do all my sound effects from scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, yeah,
like
that
like
because
caveman
yeah,
days.
yeah, right. Now I can't push a button. I gotta go put the book on, turn the lights down low.
She's also got a box beside her with all like slinkies to hit for the laser sound effects and all that type of stuff. Old school SFX.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So how was your week there, Adam?
Mine has been hectic. So just wanted to say for all you dads out there, happy Father's Day from Australia. Today is, of course, officially Father's Day in Australia. So happy Father's Day to everyone. But apart from that, this week's been one of them really weird, not eventful but eventful weeks. I have been absolutely flat out, but haven't really done anything. Yeah, it's been one of those. But apart from that, and now that certain people have had an opportunity to get their fingers in first, Volume 2 of the annotated Practical Blacksmithing is now live on Amazon. So that's available now for anyone that wants to get it. Of course, if you're holding out for the full volume, that's absolutely your choice. So if you actually jump on, you'll know there has been a little bit of a price change. Reason being is because during the course of researching and stuff like that for the Practical Blacksmithing Annotated, I came across what the original price for the volumes, each volume was worth in 1891, and it was $1 US. Now, I actually did some mathematics and figured out that $32.50 US is exactly the same price as $1 US 100 years ago.
Huh.
So, so the Practical Blacksmith is still being offered for 1891, $1. So
That's neat.
yeah, so but that's available now. I'm currently working on book 3. I also have the stuff on order in order to build myself a little bit of a voice booth so that I can start recording the audio for the volumes, and just got to reach out to one or two more people and see if I can get them on board to help me record it, so that it's a little bit more uh, audio audio audibly interesting rather than just hearing my voice the whole time. And in consultation with a couple of other people, I've actually decided that when the 4 volumes are released, I'm actually going to do something a little bit different for the full volume. So unlike what the traditional one is, where if you currently buy the Practical Blacksmithing in all 4 volumes, you buy it and it's literally just one volume back to back to back. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to actually remaster it so that all the anvil sections, or all the things about anvils are going to be in an anvil section. All the things about shop building are going to be in a shop building section. All the things about making tongs are going to be in a tong making section. So that it's not going to be just 4 volumes whacked into one. It's going to be fully re-edited, fully annotated, and fully remastered to actually be a useful volume, so not flipping back and forth anymore. So that's I'm just giving myself more and more work, and I realise this, but it's that way. It's going to be if you're holding out to buy the full volume, that's what it's going to be. So not to discourage anyone that's already got or are buying these 4 volumes as they go along. They're still very useful books. But yeah, so it's just so that if you're waiting for the actual full 4 volumes, you get a little bit of a different book than if you had bought them all for once all four in order. But you'll be missing out on the wonderful cover art and everything like that, and all the introductions and stuff like that come with the four individual volumes. So yeah, so but that's been my week. So spent today with my dad for Father's Day. Gave him a copy. He's absolutely stoked. Got to see my name on the spine as under one of the authors, and also gave him some photos of the wording and stuff like that. But yeah, no, but yeah, like I said, other than that, it's been a really odd. I've been absolutely flat out, but nothing's really been achieved week. So it's one of them weird ones.
So,
So
I was gonna mention I did as soon as Adam showed me the link for volume 2, I'm like, yep, buying it. So it's like I literally my hardcover of the first volume came in like 3 days before the second one came out. I'm like, come on, man, you got to space these out just a little bit more. I can't be dropping $35 on a hardcover every 6 days now.
blah
And
blah.
then blah blah blah. Yeah. So Bill Corey says he stopped or he got his tickets for Quad State and he's going to be camping, look for the Crusader fifth wheel. Now he's just
Yeah.
got to go outside and unload all of his Smith and stuff to get ready for camping. Oh, yeah. That reminds me, I've got to get up there and drag my tent down out of
Yeah.
the loft.
I got
Um,
2 weeks to get a whole bunch of stuff done. But yeah,
then Bill Corey, or no, not Bill Corey. I already said that one. Mountain Home Ford said, bet that 1881 silver dollar be worth more than that today. You'd think, but I bought an 1880 New Orleans mint, almost uncirculated silver dollar, a few years back, and the reason being is because I found one of those in my yard when I was a kid, it's long gone, and so I just kind of bought another one to kind of replace that one that I lost, and so I went ahead and had it slabbed. So I bought it for like I don't want to say I bought it for like $200, and then I had it slabbed. And of course, when I bought it, it was listed as brilliant uncirculated. And then I had it slabbed, and it came back. The slabbing cost me 90 from a PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and it came back as almost uncirculated, as worth $35.
hmm.
So I was in it for darn near $400, it's worth $35. It's like,
Yep,
yeah.
I just brought that up. This 1891 silver dollar with no mint mark is worth $40 in very fine condition. In extremely fine condition, the value is around $42. In uncirculated condition, the price is around $100 for coins with an MS60 grade. Uncirculated coins with the MS65 grade can sell for around $2,400. However, the value in silver alone is only $13.96 as of September 4th, 2022. So
Oh,
the
wow.
1891 US dollar is $32.50, allowing for inflation, even though it might not be the actual silver coin.
Still, spot on silver is $13.
Yeah, $13. No, sorry, the current spot price of silver is 18.05
Oh,
an ounce,
okay.
but the silver melt for the value of the coin is 13.96.
Okay, yeah, because it's 80% silver.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah. So I mean, like I said, I looked, I did the research and figured out was in 1891 because I was expecting like $70 and I was like, no way I'm charging that, and then it was like $32.50. Geez, that's really close. Yeah.
Jack Pines says Volume 2 for Kindle is now mine. Keep them coming. Uh, be ready though, Mr. Pines. Volume 3 is 3D. Yeah. It's a pop-up book.
Pop
Specially
up.
designed for Ben Toombs.
Yeah.
Speaking
Yeah,
of, I didn't even
Yama's got
realize.
jokes.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that Quad State was so close.
Oh my God, 2 weeks.
Jesus.
I'll be
Yeah.
I'll be talking about Quad State tonight uh
Oh, it's
during
cool
my show
state.
tonight. And I'll get into why here right now. My week. My week. Um well, we have a new employee. Had. I think we still have a new employee. His first day on the job, we got to the job site, handed him a shovel, and we had a 130-foot trench to dig in 90-degree weather, 100 something with the heat index. Just an insane week. It's been rough. Uh, Pushed me into a bout of insomnia for whatever reason. So it's like I've over the past like 3 or 4 days, I've probably gotten about 5 or 6 hours of sleep total. I am freaking washed. uh yeah, new construction is going smoothly. Worked yesterday, been working 6 days a week to get all these jobs done, and just wiped from it. Um, so with that, uh, tonight's show, I haven't made a full decision yet, but tonight's show I will probably do, much like this, a couch conversational show and discuss Quad State coming up in 2 weeks. For those of you who don't know what it is, we'll be discussing it, and for those of you who don't know how to get signed up for it, sign up for it, and what to expect and whatnot. Um, and kind of talking plans and talking like Bill Corey said he's going to be in the big old fifth wheel majiggy. I mean, sorry, Bill, you're gonna have to be a bit more specific than that. You know that there are probably about 100 of those Crusader fifth wheels. Um, so uh, I will be walking around the grounds, but again, we'll talk about that tonight. I implore you, if you have any interest in Quad State and chatting, uh, join me tonight. Please don't make me talk to myself. So, anyway, yeah, my week's been just soul destroying, but I'm here and I'm happy and I might take a nap. So, uh,
Yeah.
we actually, I was thinking while we were doing this, how was your week intro? And hello to everybody in the chat that I did not say hello to yet. Mr. Pecco, Wayne Heights, Aimless Adventures, um, uh, Nidavellir, how you doing? Um, but uh, but yeah, we kind of did, Sully's should probably have been last because that's an excellent segue into our topic of the week if we go into that now, or if you guys had anything else you wanted to say. Adam's book coming out, I would like to apologize to Adam for that. I only got halfway through my stint of proofreading, so if there are any spelling errors or misplaced periods, that's my fault, not Adam's. Okay.
Well, I did give it a once over before he sent it to me last Sunday. I believe I believe it was last Sunday during the show he sent it to me, and I think I had it done by Monday.
Look,
Okay.
if anyone knows how dry it is, look, it's guys. Practical Blacksmithing is a technical book. Whichever way you want to put it, it is a technical book. It is a book that you will only read cover to cover if you are truly and hardcore passionate about blacksmithing and want to know everything about it, because it is a hard read. I find it entertaining simply because the amount of different accents in it in my head.
So
Okay,
are you saying it's possible to be a cure for my insomnia?
Now, I got a question. Adam, do you the text, are you copy pasting the original text, or are you typing all of that out?
Okay, so what I'm doing is I've got a file that has all the text in
Okay.
it. Actually, let me see if I can share my screen, because that way I can actually show people what this is actually entailing, because it is a lot of freaking work.
It's not
All
just
right,
copy
so
paste.
no, it's
It's
not just copy paste. Let me
shuffle.
see. Yep, I can share my screen. Cool. Let me go to this one. Alrighty, so you should be able to see my screen right now, up on the thing. Let me know, is it
Oh,
able to be
I
seen
have to
on the.
I have to do something. Okay,
Okie
hold on.
dokie. Let me scroll down a
Show
bit, so I'm
non-video
in a bit that's not.
participants. Watch stream. Yeah, I have to actually do something. And click.
Let me see if I can find a really bad page.
Uh,
Most of these pages are pretty good. Okay, so this one here is probably a very good page. Let me
and
know
I
when it's
think to
live.
do this, what I can do is, no, I just did something. Okay, hold on. I'll get it figured out. There we go.
This is a bit for all the people that are in
Okay,
the
transit.
in listening. All the people that are listening later on in the
This
in
is
the
a
podcast.
visual aspect
Yeah, this
of
is
it.
a visual. Jump over onto Island Metal Forge to about this time. Well, we're about 20 minutes in so far, and you can have a look at what I'm talking about. So if you look where
Timestamp
my
24 minutes.
yep. So if you look at where my cursor is at the moment. So I'm a little bit further on the book from where I'm advanced. I'm about 3/4 of the way into the book at the moment. I'm currently halfway edited, just doing this first pass. So this is what I do on my first pass. So as you can see, there's a bit like this bit, which is you know up PX dash ing steel, and this is basically how the whole book is. You can see over here where most of it's actually in, but if you look at like this thing, it's at the top of the lay and then some gobbledygook lightly tap it along its edge of the walls. So I have to go through every single line and basically make sure that this type of gobbledygook doesn't happen. But on this, the rest of it is like on this side. So it says plan 2 here. So I laying the plow. So for example, I'm going to have to make that a heading. So it goes in there. Then it's plan 2, so I've got to make that stand out as well, so everyone knows what this is about. Then I'll be going to here. So now I have to actually go through and make that into one, paragraph, so it actually works first. So now that's a paragraph. Now I have to actually go back through that and say I have to read it. So to new lay plowshares, I select a piece of something steel. So I have to go back to a PDF or go to my hard copy and actually look up this page and figure out what that word's supposed to be. And because I don't know if anyone can figure out what up PX something X ing steel is supposed to be, but I don't know. So I'm going to go through and read that, and then I'll go and heat one end to a high borax heat. Then I'm putting in the comma, making sure the space is there, strike with a hammer, flies off the pieces. That's obviously not supposed to be there. So this is what I'm doing. I'm actually going through the whole text that's now in a text document and taking out these bits and pieces, making sure the words work, going through, correcting any obvious spelling errors that are not artifacts of the time. For example, those who have actually read the book know that, for example, in 1891, the word enclose was actually spelt with an I in the US. So, as opposed to I enclose ENCLOSE, in the US it was spelled INCLOSE. So that's an obvious spelling mistake, but that's an artifact of the error. So I won't change stuff like that for these volumes. I might do when I come to putting the full volume together where I'm completely changing things around, but that's because I'm completely editing the whole thing. But for stuff for these volumes, I'm not changing spelling like that. But yeah, so I'm going through, and changing all of these things and fixing it up. But also you see like here, so this picture isn't actually a picture that's supposed to be there. It's supposed to be something else. So I've got to go back to another reference that I have, copy the picture, clean it up, and actually insert it into the document as well. So that's the reason why I'm not doing what you find a lot of the print versions of Practical Blacksmith is basically just taking the PDF and reprinting it. I'm not doing that. I'm remastering it. Also, let me go back up to a section I did earlier on. There is a section that I did on fluxes. This volume actually has different types of fluxes, including some very toxic ones. Previous and yeah, so some very 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 toxic ones. But this also has a section on make your own fluxes, and I actually did. So if you look on this section here, it got sand and welding facing old hammer. So this was actually gives a recipe for a flux that was used by a smith at the time. That's not just borax. So you'll see here that it's got it in the original. This is the original text, which is light. I have reinterpreted it. I've actually done the and put it in modern weights, because this was take a quart of sand. Now, a quart of sand, it's a measurement, but how much is it? So I actually went through and so you could do it by weight, so 3.4 pounds of sand, or 1.4 kilo, and actually did it so you weren't working in archaic volumes as well. So this is my annotation of it, of course, and this is the original. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm not only having to go through and edit the text and make sure the text actually makes sense, putting the pictures back in, adding some pictures, and then I'm also adding my annotated version to it. So yeah, that's the end of me sharing the screen. Don't need to do that anymore. But
Well,
yeah,
that was a really good job at showing the book there. I really enjoyed that. But
sorry.
Oh, good. I was curious, and the reason I asked is because I haven't been proofreading the original text. I've only been proofreading the bold stuff, the stuff that you added. And so if I need to proofread the rest of it, I kind of need to know.
Yeah, same Z's.
Yeah,
George
no, I'm
Anderson
going through that enough.
George Anderson had a good question, and it also, again, it's like the world is just screaming, get to the point. No, it goes a segue to the topic. It says, is it more accurate to go through individual word by word, or is there any benefit to a mass cut and replace word? Um, by that, I think he's referring to a feature that some word processors have, where you can. I've seen it done before in programming, like Notepad++, um, where you open up a feature, type in a word, and then uh, replace all instances of that word with instances of this new word that you put in. Um, and I believe what Adam had just shown, George, is that not every incorrectly spelled or you know incorrectly translated word is an exact iteration. So you want to go through it, essentially word by word to make sure you get every, you know, uh, instance, because it seems like when it was originally scanned and transferred into a PDF and then into a text file, there were errors that nobody actually read through it and caught. And that's what he's doing now, is going through and remastering it, removing all of those errors, such as calling something that may have may have been Swedish steel, something that got copied as IPX, whatever the heck it was. Um, so in this instance, it would be, although much more work, much more thorough to do it word for word and scan it and go through it, uh, than to try and run it
Yeah,
through a program like everybody else.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, and there is a certain amount of like there. Eventually, when I go to do the remastered version, where I will probably be changing the words like enclosed and updating the spelling like that. For that type of instance, yeah, like in word processors, if you go to the find word, you can actually find and replace. So for instances like that, where it's standard and they're all going to be the same thing, yeah, that's absolutely worth doing. But in the text, because of the gobbledygook that comes up from the translation, stuff like fractions are generally, it'll have like 1 3/4 might have the one will replace by an I, but then 3/4 might be an up symbol and a question mark and a 9. But the next time it'll be a 3 and then a slash and then a P, yeah, or an H or something like that. So those inconsistencies in the translation haven't been the same all the way through, and that's simply because of the age of the book and the print quality that they were when these were scanned into
PDF
the
format.
library, yeah, in the PDF format. These were still books that were even then, think about this, the scanning technology has only been around the last maybe 30 years max. So these technologies, this book was written and published in 1891. So that's still 100 years before the first PDFs were starting to be made. So the translation errors happened, have happened since then. So it's for me, it's worth it to go through, and as much as I can, I'm only human. I'm going to miss stuff. I'm sure I have missed stuff, but to be as accurate as possible, I'm going through every single word, and that's the reason why I'm not, I like the people who are doing the proofreading for me, like Sully, like Yamez, and those other people that have asked to do the proofreading for me. I'm not asking them to read the original text because it's a lot of stuff. I've read the original text enough that I'm missing the errors that I'm making in my text because they're not obvious errors like the gobbledygook that I'm replacing. So, I'm going over with spell check and stuff like that, but sometimes it's grammatical errors and stuff like that. So that's yeah. So Sally, to answer your question as well, I'm just asking to read the annotated parts. That's cool. But yes, to answer, who said it about Michael Hayes? Yes, there is a make your own flux section. It comes with a couple of safety warnings, of course. Reason being is because they use stuff like potassium cyanide as some of their flux, and you don't want that aerosolized. It's nasty shit.
Yeah. This is becoming a topic of itself. I remember some old text that had the letter F that was actually an S. It was a limitation of the original presses. Has there been any other limitations that have been amusing to you?
Yes and no. Yes and no in the sense of there has been a lot of stuff that I've had to do some deep dive research into that have, like, taking on face value, like some of the stuff like the A, the F that was supposed to be an S and stuff like that. They're pretty much easy to because as I'm reading through it, it's like that word doesn't make sense. And I replace it with a word that looks similar. And it's like, oh yeah, okay, that makes more sense. But then I go and research it to make sure I'm getting the right word for it. I'm not just guessing. One of the interesting things, though, is some of the language that was used and some of the trade terms that were used that we no longer use at all. It's not in common lexicon. It is now so archaic that we don't even use it at all. One example of that is still only just in common usage is the word stove. So, to stove something as opposed to bending it. Now, everyone knows a stove is a cooktop, but the only reference I've got is if you stove, like if you're in a fight and you stove someone's head in, for example. Not that anyone ever do that. So that's how I knew it meant to change the shape of something. So I had to do a proper deep dive, and I from context I knew what stove meant, but to actually try and find out a definition of it was next to impossible. What it actually is we use the term nowadays turning. So when you bend a piece of bar, if it's bent on like you have two dimensions of the bar, you have the width and the thickness. So if you bend on the thickness, that's bending. But if you bend on the width, that's turning. Okay, and in blacksmithing speak, right? Now, but in 1881, that term wasn't turning; it was stoving. You would stove the bar as opposed to turning it. So that was something that took me just on that one word took me hours of research. It was like I couldn't find it anywhere. I had to follow this rabbit hole way down into go looking at old dictionaries and stuff like that from the 1800s to find out what stove meant. So yeah, so that's an example of something that I found interesting. Yeah, upset, and not so much upset. Stove is more turning under the understanding that I've got. It's maybe that halfway point between turning and upsetting. So you know, as you're upsetting something as you're turning it. But yeah, so it's one of those you know, terms that now has moved or almost completely moved out of the common lexicon that you really have to research into. So yeah, so it's these are the things that are really interesting whilst I'm editing. But yeah, but I mean, and to segue into the topic, this is something that is I'm going through and I'm repairing this book the way I see it. There's in this sense, there's no point reinventing the wheel. There's a lot of very valuable information, and I think there's a lot of information in this book that is historical and deserves to be um, conserved for another 100 years. But without explanation, there's like I said, just in this word stove, trying to find the definition of this word was hard enough, let alone you know, in another 50 or 60 years when it's completely fallen out of common usage, to have no reference as to what it means would be very, very very, very difficult. But also seeing, as Michael Hayes said, you know, the potassium side not messing with, seeing what they did with certain chemicals that we know are toxic. They knew that these things were toxic back then too, in the sense of there's a warning from actually one of the blacksmiths of the time saying, you know, I don't like to mess with cyanide because it's terribly toxic. But this is these guys in the text you can see people having the same conversations that we're having through magazine as we're having in this format, in the sense of repairing versus replacing. They're talking about, you know, how nuts and bolts and stuff like that, is it worth repairing it as opposed to replacing it? It costs a couple of cents to buy a new one, versus, you know, if you haven't got access to new ones, having the skill to be able to repair what you've got is very valuable. And these were discussions that we're having at the time. And it was only by a pure happenstance when the soundboard went out for Sully, we were discussing, you know, I was like, oh, what's going on? Can you solder it? All that type of thing. I was going through the section on soldering in the book, and it was really weird because of kind of everything was lining up. But yeah, you know, so that discussion of repair versus replace, and I mean, this is even pertinent to Yamaz as well, because he's had issues with his aircon lately, and he's had to go through and do some repairs on that. So, you know, when it comes to repair versus replace, sometimes it's worth having the skill or at least a general knowledge on how to repair things, in my opinion, because you know, not everyone has the ability to just go out and buy something new or has it close by. Like, for example, my local hardware store, my big box hardware store, I should say, where I can go and buy an air conditioning or something like that, is about a 45-minute drive away. My local hardware store, where I can go pick up bits and pieces, is only a 10-minute drive away. You know, I can go pick up new switches or, you know, a new extension lead or something like that. But actually replace something, I've got to go nearly an hour into town. So it's worth it for me, particularly being out bush, to being able to repair most things. I mean, an example of that is a couple of months back, just before my wedding, I had an extension lead that I use on a regular basis. It gave out on me, and it wasn't that there was anything wrong with the extension lead. One of the plugs failed, and so I was like, well, I can either drive all the way into town and get a new extension lead, or I can just pop around the local hardware store and grab a new end. And I actually end up grabbing a 15 amp end. It was a 10 amp extension lead, but I grabbed a 15 amp end, which actually worked out really, a female end, worked out really well for me, because had my wedding being at the time, I was able to hook that 10 amp extension lead into a 10 amp and also plug it into my caravan or my camper trailer, because there's nothing in there that needs to run on that much power. But in order to give it power to have an small portable air conditioning running in there for my friend that was staying in that caravan, and so they could charge their phone and everything like that. So having that ability to repair something was actually beneficial to me, not only the short term, but I now have an extension lead that I can purely use for that. For that particular instance. So yeah. So anyway, so I put it out to everyone else, Yamas and Sully and people in the chat about the repair versus replace. When is it worth it for you to repair something either yourself or to pay someone else to do it? I mean, repairing sometimes getting something repaired by paying someone else to do it is just as worthwhile as paying for yourself. I mean, a good example of that is a mobile phone, or well, you guys call them a cell phone. You crack the screen on it. You can spend a couple, $1,000 replacing the phone, or you spend, $80 to repairing the screen. And most people can't do that type of thing themselves. So you take it to a cellular repair place. They replace the screen for $80 odd, and hey, you've got what equates to a brand new phone. So yeah, so that's my opinion is, as someone that I'm not a complete environmental hazard. I believe that you should be repairing, and you have the right to repair. You should have the right to repair everything that's reasonably within your ability to repair. Pay to get repaired, because that's going to be something that is environmentally sustainable. Look at the price of copper now. Years ago, copper used to be cheap, right? Now, and I can't remember who said it to me, but it might have been you, Yamez. I can't remember. The dumps of yesterday will be the mines of tomorrow, because there is that much copper and gold that has been buried and turfed with all the electronic equipment that could have been recycled 20, 30, 40 years ago, or repaired. Whereas through the 90s, the world had a very throwaway, just turf it. Through the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Turf it, will buy something new. Turf it, will buy something new.
Well,
we're starting to go back to the earlier 40s, 50s, where they're trying to make things to last a little bit longer, because it's more environmentally friendly and cost effective.
I will say this too, for when you're considering this topic, repair or replace, not to be confused with um, buying something that you can easily make. I believe we've discussed that topic before, even with Roy. Somebody had asked Roy once, I think in his live stream or in here somewhere, like, if Roy needs a hook, does he forge one or does he run and go buy one? Or if Roy needs, a piece of hardware, does he go buy it or does he, make it? Um, and Roy put up a little equation: time times hourly, rate slash cost of new. You know, um, you may have the ability to fix something. And this is my take on it. You may have the ability to fix something, but you may not have the time. And to add to Roy's equation, I would also posit the need or not of the item. For example, my air conditioner uh, had started messing up and I couldn't run it. One of the reasons I haven't been able to sleep and blah blah blah. But I have a sort of could figure it out and everything. I do not have the money to uh, replace it or hire somebody to fix it. And I did not have the time to wait, uh, for somebody to come and do that, because 90 degrees in my room at night, I can't sleep. Um, and it's obviously been affecting me. But, if it was dead of winter where, the heat works, but the air conditioner doesn't, you know, I've been so busy with work. It's, I don't, I had to weigh all those options. Um, so considering to repair or replace, how soon do you need that tool? If my uh, lineman's pliers, my electrician's pliers were to break, um, or like my tape measure recently broke. Yeah, I could take it apart, spend some time, and fix it, and then rewind it, and then have my tape measure back easily. But I need it like right now. I need it for work now, and it was more. I would have lost more money by not having the tools needed to continue making money. So run out and buy one real quick. Run out, buy a new screwdriver. Run out, buy a new uh, uh, pair of Kleins. Like it. In addition to time and cost, also how important that tool or that um, piece is to your life and or lifestyle.
And
So,
I mean, there's another factor in that as well, and that's the time taken to learn the new skill.
oh,
Because like you
true.
you have something like I've never replaced an air conditioning or done something like that until very recently. An example of something very recently that I had to learn to do was I have solar hot water. Now, a couple of months back, we had a power outage. It was planned, but I didn't know it was planned. And as a result, the hot water actually drained out of my hot water system on the roof because my pressure pump, because we're not on town power here, my pressure pump was turned off, so it wasn't keeping the water up to the solar hot water. Solar hot water's drained through the lines, so we got a massive air bubble. So I had to learn how to drain the air bubble. So that's not something that sounds too hard to do. But it took me about a day and a half to do it because I had to first figure out how to ask the question of what I was actually fucking doing. Well, sorry about swearing. But
Hot
yeah,
mic, hot
Break.
mic.
but whoops. But yeah, so I had to not only take the time to figure out what I was doing, but also how to ask the question. How to take an air bubble out of a solar hot water tank? Sounds like a very bland question, but just in my research for that thing, there's about 20 different solar hot water systems across the world, and every one has a different way of draining an air bubble out of an airlock. So I had to find the specific for my version of the solar hot water, and then so the one I have is a solar heart, and then I had to figure out in their range which one mine applied to and where I'd find it, and it actually ended up being on the wall and not on the roof. But I had to drain the air bubble out of my wall, but then get up on the roof to drain the air bubble out of the roof, to come back down to drain it out of the wall, to go back up and drain it out of the roof. So I was up and down 4 times. But like I said, this took me 2 days to figure out. So I lost two. It would have been worth paying $120 call out fee for a plumber or a roof plumber to come and do it. Maybe. In my circumstance, no, because I had the free time at the time, and this is also a skill that if this ever happens again, I now know how to do it. So
Now,
it's not going to cost exactly. I now know
now,
how to do it. So that's it, it's not going to cost me $120 every time. But that's a relatively simple example. Whereas if
now
it was something,
brings. I was going to say now brings into Sully's issue of the electronics. Sully
Okay.
loves learning. Would you love to learn how to fix electronics?
Well, I do know how to
Sorry,
fix.
sorry, Adam.
I do know how to fix electronics to a limited extent. Back in the day, I don't know, maybe, oh gosh, I guess it's been upwards of, let's see, 2007 to 2010, so been a while ago. I used to do CB radio modifications. So I used to, take a stock Cobra 29 and crank it up from 4 watts to like 12 watts, put talk back in it, echo, noise toys. I mean, I could do whatever you wanted. And, that's all just replacing resistors and, turning slugs in a coil. I mean, it's all basic stuff. Now, all of that is great because in a CB radio, or at least those era CB radios, well, I mean, even the ones they make today, all of that stuff is very easily gotten to. I mean, like it's all big, components, and there's plenty of room between them, so you can heat up the end of a resistor and pop it out, pop the other end out, bend a new one, stick it in there. It's it's easy to repair those and replace those. Now the radio that I have now is it's a Striker, and it's got the same type. I mean, but it's a big radio. It's a 10-meter radio, and it's like 300 watts bone stock. That's got the same circuit board as my phone does. I mean, if you've ever taken apart a cell phone and seen the boards inside those, microscopic stuff in there. And well, anyways, that's not quite what's in my soundboard. It is in between the microscopic stuff and the big stuff, but it is small enough that my eyesight, and my eyesight is now bad enough that I can't differentiate the pins and stuff. And I would have to invest in like one of them big ring lights that's got the magnifying lens in it, so I can look through, and maybe the flip down little goggle things with the magnifying loops. I don't know. For what it would cost me to replace the soundboard, versus fix it myself, I would rather just replace the soundboard. Now, I'm not going to throw it away. I'm going to keep it because I know there is somebody out there that can fix it. And I mean, it's literally soldering one little deal back onto the board. It's not just one soldering joint. It's like 8, because there's on the back side of a micro USB, there's 8 little wires that go into that thing. So, all of those got to be connected. But that's it. It's just that one piece. And I know there's somebody that can fix it, and I'm going to keep it until I find that person. And then Yamez will have a soundboard.
Mm-hmm. I'll get it
I was
figured
going to
out.
say you'll probably find whoever can do the phone replacement or whatnot around your area, Sully, would probably be able to fix it.
The only phone repair people do around us is like screens and digitizers, where I mean, and they just unplug from the board. I mean, you pop the screen off, you unplug the flex tape thing. I don't know what it's called, but the circuit tape. You just unplug that out of the board, slap the new one in. It's all. Fixing a phone is remove and replace. All you do is just remove the old broken component, replace the new one. There's not really any soldering or anything like that. If it gets down to that where there's like a bad chip on the board, the whole thing's toast.
Well,
Right.
I know someone that could possibly fix it. They just popped into the chat.
Tim!
G'day, big dog.
Yeah,
What's up,
there you
Jeff?
go.
Yeah. So, all things considered, repair versus replace. It's an excellent topic with so many facets. Um, as Roy was saying, it's time versus cost of materials versus cost of simply replacing. Add on to that my positive idea of uh, you know pressing need for that item, that specific item. Like if you're it's good to know how to fix things so that you don't have to replace them. However, that enters that time of like, man, I just absolutely don't have time to fix this now. I got to buy a new one and then fix this one later, then I'll have two. And yeah, so it's definitely one of those. And as Roy said, it depends on the actual item. If it's an heirloom piece, takes time to fix it. If it's some what did he say? I think he said like a throwaway coffee pot handle, chuck it and buy a new one, unless you already drink your coffee and you have the time to, you know, repair a coffee pot handle and, maybe make something unique and different. That's a way of looking at it too, so
And there's also the time versus money factor as well, because I mean I know of some people that live in different parts of Australia who have now made a relatively good living from uh, going and getting broken or repairable items for free, repairing them for relatively small cost, and now and then on selling them for a minuscule profit, but still a profit on things like buy swap sell and stuff like that. They've taught themselves the skills in order to repair them because they might have been unemployed at the time or whatnot, so they had plenty of time versus not much money, and they could invest that time in learning the skills to make money. So again, it also comes back to that, if you're time rich but money poor versus money rich and time poor, because and as you were pointing out there, Yamez, and as Roy said, sometimes the it's the money that you save, the time you save from replacing something goes back into making the money to cover other things. You're making more money saving the time replacing it versus spending the time to repair it and saving the money, saving the time. So it's at that thing, and that's why I said it's very specific on what you're doing. Like I said, with my plumber example, it was worth it for me investing that time because that's now a skill that I can use later on, because you think this is going to happen again at some stage, and
Yeah.
now I don't have to worry about spending the money. It will now take me 10 minutes to actually bleed it. So it's the 2 days spent and saving $120 now. It's 10 minutes. It's no worries.
Yeah.
But something like learning to solder, for me, it would probably be something that might be useful, but for Sully, it's something that's not worth it at this stage. So I can understand that completely. So you've got it comes down to weighing up individual circumstances and individual tasks.
So
Right.
I wanted to point out here. Jeff Killian said he went to use his finished nail gun yesterday, and it did not work. So he took it apart and was able to repair it. That being said, that is what's part of my job to used to be as a maintenance mechanic. Now, I want to say probably about 4 months ago, I had to I was rotating tires or something to that effect, and so I got my half-inch air impact out, and it just goes psh, psh, psh. It wouldn't go. Well, I have taken apart and repaired a half-inch air impact before. It's not a big deal, you know. I took the whole thing apart, cleaned everything up, lubed everything, put it all back together. Psh, psh, psh. I'm like, did I get something wrong? I took it all apart. Everything works. Yep. I took it apart and put it back together 3 times, and it still wouldn't work. And so, so in the middle of rotating these tires, which is at the end of the day, like I've got 2 jacks, so it's a 15-minute job. I stopped in the middle of this 15-minute job, and I spent 3 hours trying to fix my half-inch air impact. At which time it still didn't work. And then I wound up using a half-inch breaker bar and a socket to do all the wheels. And I still haven't even replaced that half-inch air impact. And I was like, man, I'm really disappointed about that.
I gotta ask Jeff Killian's comment about the Finnish nail gun. I didn't know. Does Finland make particularly good nail guns? Ba-dum-ba. Boom.
But tish.
Finland, Finland, Finland. No.
Well, to be fair, to be fair, to be fair, to be fair, to be
Yeah,
fair.
that was, yeah. My jokes are bad, and I should feel bad. I blame the insomnia. But yeah, I literally just lost what I was going to say.
Yeah, well,
Right.
Roy makes a good point. His hourly rate is
Yeah,
anything he touches. So if it's going to take him an hour to fix a repair gun, is that repair gun worth $100 an hour plus materials? Or minimum, if it takes an hour to repair it, is it worth $100? Well,
yeah.
if it's worth less than $100, go buy a new one.
You know,
Dollars,
my
repair it.
you can boil this into a couple categories, and one would be, okay, the obvious small thing, like, okay, like does a bracket break in your shop? Do you take the time to repair it, or just grab another one off the shelf or go buy a new one or whatever, and put it in and get back to work? Um, Compared to like what Adam was saying, a piece of utility or some plumbing, something, for your utilities at your house. As an electrician, I don't, if I have an electrical issue, I can repair it. I don't have to call an electrician and pay our exorbitant prices. It's like freaking copper gouging or something. I don't know. But you know, learning a skill, a trade skill to repair household stuff is definitely, unequivocally more cost effective than uh, constantly hiring out should you need to. Um, Now repairing or replacing a specific like small item or tool or structural piece or something like that, that's a little different. So, another facet to the conversation, like, are we talking a trade skill, or are we talking a or something like an air conditioner, or a circuit breaker box, or whatever appliances, versus not to say knickknacks, but your door falling off its hinges. Do you go buy new hinges, or do you forge new hinges? Or do you attempt to
And
repair the pins?
that's another interesting thing as well, because this is a no, and for everyone that's listening, this is by no means a one size fits all conversation, because I mean, just in
Mm-mm.
using the example Yama's just used, bracket. Now, if I had a bracket on a shelf that broke, I would personally weld it up. Reason being is because, again, it's a 45-minute drive to the big box hardware store. So for me to go get a new bracket, that's an hour and a half minimum of my time, plus fuel, plus buying the bracket. So,
Unless you keep
there's
them in stock.
exactly. So unless I keep them in stock, there's and in Australia at the moment that's $1.85 a litre of fuel, and it's going to cost me about a quarter of a tank of fuel to get to and from the hardware store. It might only cost me $2, but there's right now, a quarter of a tank is about 8 litres. So there's, the $1.85 a litre times 8, plus the $5 for the bracket, plus, if I'm let's say I charge $40, I'm not as Roy, but $40 an hour, so there's an hour and a half, so there's $60. So now that one bracket has now cost me, upwards of nearly $100 for a $3 bracket. Whereas, if I took the 5 minutes out of my time to weld that bracket together, or forge a new bracket, again, so it comes down to, for each individual person, that balance of what's worth it.
And
Go ahead.
oh, I was saying, and there are other considerations as well. I mean, going to town to go get something. Okay, like for you, that's a considerable distance, considerable amount of time, and you got to think about fuel and all that. Well, I mean, I'm a lot closer, but it still takes to like, if I got to go, let's say Lowe's, say I got to go to Lowe's to get something, which is like a Home Depot. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, there, Adam, but in any case, for me, I mean, as the crow flies, it's maybe 4 miles away, but it takes me 40 minutes to get there, just because of traffic, and I got to deal with traffic. And then I get there, and there's probably 600 people in there shopping, and you're in line for 30 minutes waiting to check out. And I have wicked bad social anxiety, and so the whole time I'm just on edge. I mean, like, if I need a hinge that bad, and it has to be that kind of hinge, I'll go get that hinge, and I'll deal with it. I'll put up with it. But if I can fix that hinge, and I don't care if it takes me 6 hours. I mean, if I got nothing else going on, I mean, like, I'll spend the 6 hours fixing it myself to not have to deal with the people and the traffic. Regardless of cost. So if your repair cost and your replace cost is about the same, the inconvenience for me, the inconvenience of having to go deal with people, if I can fix it, I'll fix it. So
It's also, I just had a thought too. It's also, when considering Roy mentioning, oh, it's, you know, $100 shop hour, cost of, him taking the time to fix it, you know, you have to consider, okay, if we're talking specifically in a shop setting, is it is your shop a for-profit shop or for hobby shop? Could a broken item become a learning experience project for you to, cut your teeth on? Is your shop time uh, learning to repair that, or even if you already know how to repair it, practicing repairing something worth it to you to do, rather than, hey, you know, I'm in my shop, I have, 100 orders to fill. I don't have time to, and if I were to take the time to, that would cost this much money that I would not make, blah, 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 versus again, like hobby shop, hey, this is an opportunity for me to practice my repair skills so that in the future, should some customer come to me and say, hey, I broke this, item, can you fix it? Yes, I can, so it in addition to all the equations and all the bearing it down to its essential components of a conversation or of a topic, it all it does is open up new facets and new rabbit holes of conversation. That's why it's a beautiful discussion, you know.
And an example of that is something I just thought of now. I mean, and Tim made the point about not having money and learning skills and stuff like that. What's the value of knowledge? Learning to repair something and stuff like that is very expensive. It can, and as Jack Pines also said, building a computer, learning a new skill can be very expensive up front, but it will save you money in the long run. But
Or
it's like
potentially make
buying.
you money.
Exactly, but it's also like buying a quality tool, right? Start buying a quality tool will generally last you a long time. It's like you're not going to be need to repair or replace for a long time, and it can potentially make you money as well. But it comes down to that balance, and sacrifice. Sometimes you've got to you got to cheap out, or you've got to spend the money up front because of X reason. Sometimes you have the ability to save the money or learn a skill or whatnot. So each this and this is going to be individually different for every single person. My
Yeah,
reasons for repairing something versus replacing something versus buying something new, whatever, is going to be different to someone else's. And another example of that, something for me recently, I recently bought a new you guys call it a truck, I call them a ute. I bought a new ute because my other one unfortunately has issues. Because my new ute is in very different setup to my old ute, I had to buy a trailer. Now I've bought a very cheap trailer. I can't put my crane that was on the back of my old ute onto my new one, so I had to weld up a frame to put it on my trailer. That cost me a bit of money. I could have had it done professionally, but I had the time, I had this, I had the skill, and I had the ability to. So I built up the frame myself. To pay someone else to do it, sure, it might have been a little bit more structural, but it would have cost me disproportionate amount to what I could have done by myself. So I did it by myself. But that's because I already had the skill. If I didn't have the skill, I probably could have spent the time learning it because it was worth it to me. Because it's something that also ties into blacksmithing, into fabrication. You can learn to make stuff. I could have learned to make stuff that will be useful for me in the future. So it also comes. That's another aspect of this conversation into learning something. Does it tie in with something else?
yeah,
Will me doing that welding and making that frame tied in with blacksmithing in a certain degree. So yeah,
right. So I mean, to tie it all up into one neat little package, I think you summed it up nicely there. It's entirely circumstantial, and an individual approach. All we can do in this conversation and bringing it to the forefront of everybody's minds uh, through the media that we're doing is give you outsider perspective, because in any um, endeavor in life, outsider perspective is invaluable. Like uh, things to consider. You know, because your conclusion onto whether to repair or replace may be completely different than, mine or Roy's or Adam's or Alex's or Big Dog's, but at least now thought processes and like a different way of looking at it. And if that enhances your decision making process, then all the better. And we, as the Impractical Blacksmith, has done our job. So, uh, yeah, it's absolutely an amazing topic. I love it. Hey, Stephen. Um,
It's also a topic we can go on and on and on and
oh,
on
on and on and on and on and on. But going on and on, all it would be doing would, coming up with different examples and finding different rabbit holes to go down and different facets and layers to open up about uh, 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 and at what point do you go, okay, well now you're making an excuse not to repair or an excuse not to replace, um, but all of it being, not excuse being the wrong word, um, all of it being, you know an extremely personal approach. And in addition to it being, an individual approach, it's also a per piece approach. I wouldn't go the same route with my microwave as I would go with, my PC. You know, if my microwave were to fail, it's I've had it for 4 years. I'd probably just go buy a new one, and then salvage that one and be like, ooh, now I got a microwave transformer to play with. You know, if my PC were to start failing, I would do everything in my power to try and fix it because, it's important to me, as opposed to just buying a new one. So per individual, per piece, you know, and per situation, per point of view. So, uh, of course, this topic can fractal out into millions of different branches, um, but it boils down to the summonization. I made a new word if it doesn't exist already. Of take what we've discussed today and uh, sprinkle some flux on it and fix it. Sorry, I had to do that because Roy was talking about flux. Um,
See, Roy wasn't here for my discussion on Flux earlier. Roy, I have I'm currently editing volume 3 of Practical Blacksmithing, and it has recipes for Flux in there. And there's one that isn't just borax, and I actually think you would appreciate it because even the original the Smiths from 100 years ago, you said use this sparingly. It's not glue, basically. So I think you would appreciate that. Yeah. Anyway.
I wonder if he would need to sprinkle some flux on two pieces of metal in a vacuum.
Oddly enough, no, you wouldn't. But that would actually prevent it from welding. But
So Roy's right.
no, it totally would. I mean, just like, yeah, if there was, because it's got to be a smooth fit
I know.
for
I'm just
for vacuum welding. But I was actually thinking about the last night how I could build a vacuum chamber capable of cold welding steel.
do
Um,
it. Do
and I
it.
mean, and that's a hard build right there. I mean, because I mean,
So
there, what we can, what we usually have at our disposal pulls a vacuum, pull like 30 inches of mercury, okay. That's not a hard vacuum. There's still enough air particles. I mean, there's still enough air particles in there that I mean, like, so trying to, I've been working on trying to figure out how to pull a hard vacuum, and I think I have to do it with a plasma arc.
mm,
And so the problem is you have to have the thing in the vacuum chamber to begin with. Well, if I've got two pieces of steel in there, and I say it's a nitrogen filled environment, I suck it down as far as I can to with conventional vacuum, and then I run a plasma arc through it to convert all of the remaining nitrogen into energy. Now that's mass can either be created or destroyed. It can only be converted to and from energy, etc. Well, so if I can convert the nitrogen into light via plasma, I will have a hard vacuum in that container. But then if I had the metal in there to begin with and a plasma arc, it's going to weld it together anyway. So it's an interesting what's the thought process, I guess. Yeah, because just for me, like turning over these different ideas in my head, and it's like, wait, what if I did that? What if I? Nope, that's not going to work. What if I did? Nope, that's not going to work. And so far, I'm just running up against brick wall after brick wall. Every direction I try to go with it. So it's entirely possible that it's not possible. But I'm going to turn it over up here for a while and see what I can come up with.
Mm-hmm. With that, I see people kind of talking about having to leave, or saw people leaving. 11:16 my time. Uh, I like this show. Let's move on to our final thoughts. Um, so, which one of you guys would like to share your final thoughts?
I'll go first.
Yeah.
This week's conversation all came up because I broke what I consider to be an essential piece of hardware for this little production that we do here. And I mean, granted, I can do without it, but like I've got to do all the sound effects on my own. Put the book on, turn the lights down low, and then but I'm pish and all of that stuff. I got to do all that manually now, and do you know how rough that is? So the idea that I could fix it is there. Yes, I could fix it. I could invest a whole lot of money in it and get it back going. But it's easier to replace it. So for every person for any item in that where that question comes up, it's going to be a personal threshold, so to speak. So there's a threshold for each person and each item. Is this worth fixing, or is it just is it more efficient to replace it? And there's no hard line in the sand. Well, this is all that's wrong with it. You should fix that or whatever. No, I mean it's everybody's own personal threshold. So next time you're faced with something you have to either fix or replace, instead of just automatically thinking, my half-inch impact broke, I'm going to run downtown and get a new one. Well, think about that for a minute and say, wait, what if I just take it apart and, maybe I can take it apart and find exactly what's wrong with it and fix it. Maybe not. But, so think about that. And if that falls on this side of your repair threshold, see if you can fix it. Or if you can fix it, then fix it. If not, don't be afraid to toss it and move on with some newer stuff. So y'all have a great week. Get out to your shops, build something while the weather is amazing. And I'll see you guys next Sunday. Peace.
Alrighty, so thanks for joining us, everyone. You can find YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. You can find Alex at Transcendental Artist Studios on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And you can find me, Adam, at Speargrass Forge on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, and now also on Amazon. Don't forget, if you have any suggestions for a tool of the week, metal of the week, or any other topic, you can leave them under the hashtag Metal of the Week in the YouTube community chat on our Discord, or you can email us at islandmetalforge@gmail.com. If you have found us on Anchor, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, or Google Podcasts, we generally upload every Wednesday, or you can join us live every Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's currently 11:30 p.m. Australian Central Standard Time, but check that against your local time. And that is at Island Metal Forge YouTube channel. Finally, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and we really do appreciate your support. That's for those that are following us on the Spotify, on the audio podcast, and also on the YouTube channel. Now, for my final thoughts, guys, it's been a TikTok trend lately about if you don't have nice things, it's because you either don't have the money or you are lazy and you don't want to learn. That's so, shaking the head. But I'm a great proponent for learning how to do things. You know, if every skill that you have is a skill that you don't have to pay someone else to do, and I've always been someone that's loves self sufficiency insofar as I can. Sometimes it's not practical. I know we are the impractical blacksmith, but sometimes impracticality is just impracticality. But also, there's a lot of factors that comes down to that, you know, and that's all about your individual circumstance. I encourage you to try and learn a new skill where you can, if you have the time, because that's adding to not only the grey matter up here, but also, you know, your intrinsic value to yourself. And you can find a lot of value in and every single one of us that is here has done that through blacksmithing. None of us have an inherent knowledge about blacksmithing. We all have a passion about it, and so that's what we did. We learned blacksmithing. So I encourage you to, you know, expand on that, even if it's, you know, learning to solder or learning to braze, something that can add to your toolkit. That might be a little bit different from what you're doing when you and then when you have a chance to use it for something outside of blacksmithing, it'll give you an opportunity to, you know, show yourself off. But yeah, so that's my final thought for the week, and we'll look forward to speaking to you all in a fortnight, because unfortunately I'm working next week.
Yeah, I was shaking my head not at the I was shaking my head at TikTok. I'm not a big fan of them, you know. Um, but my final thoughts just eluded me. Um, yeah, so final thoughts, can't really cover it any more than I have on the topic of the day. However, I will say this again to those of you who stuck around. Um, this evening's show is very leaning towards um, conversational. Again, we'll be discussing quad state plans and stuff like that. And uh, I think I need a nap. So I just want to thank all of you for showing up. This was a fantastic episode, and I want to thank all of you guys for listening in the future on the podcast. And huge shout out and thank you to Adam at Speargrass Forge and Alex at Transcendental Artist Studios. Big thank you to the channel members for supporting us, you know, week in and week out. And huge shout out and thank you to those of you who pop in and listen and, you know, sometimes chat and just kind of hang out. Uh, Y'all make my Sundays. You're the reason I get up on my only day off, only day-ish off. So yeah, I will be. I just had a little surge of inspiration right there at the end there. I will probably add a couple of custom emojis to the channel um, after the show here, or after my nap, or whatever. But thank you all. You guys have a wonderful week. Get out to your shop and fix something, or get out to the store and replace something. Be safe. And enjoy life. So thank you all, and I will see you guys all later.
Like and subscribe, buy Adam's book, and download the pod.
Yes, all of that. Night, guys.